My partner doesn't want to get married. Step 1. Clarify why you want to be married. For me, it was because it made us a partnership in the eyes of the law and of our society. But you need to know what it means to you. Step 2. Does your partner agree with the reasons why you want a marriage? If he really sees it as just a piece of paper, what's holding him back for getting that piece of paper for you? What are his fears? Hopefully that gets you more clarity. This being married makes you legally next of kin. It means you're the default beneficiary and also the default power of attorney. Do you want your parents or partner being the emergency contact if you're in a terrible accident? Who should be making decisions on your behalf if you're incapacitated? These are all the unsexy reasons to get married. One condition for me to have a baby was to be married. We went to the courthouse and married there. In 10 years, we may have a big party for everyone including our kids and enjoy 10 years of marriage. But that's in the future. If it's important to you, I'd stop trying for a baby. Same here. When I decided to start having sex, I made it a goal in life to meet someone, fall in love, get married and have kids. In that order. Even though I know that didn't necessarily guarantee a happy/healthy life. Nobody in my family had ever done it this way. So I wanted to see if it was even possible. Thankfully, it was. A part of me wishes I had had children sooner, as I'm now considered high risk, having my first at 36. But it was worth the wait. You sound like me. I'm now 36 and high risk for my first. But so glad I waited for my husband. We have an amazing life and I wouldn't have it any other way. I've known quite a few guys personally, including my own ex, who claimed it's just a piece of paper while refusing to marry their long-term girlfriend. In most cases, they eventually break up and he marries the next girl pretty quickly. Guess it wasn't the paper that was the problem. I know some couples can make the non-marriage thing work for decades. But if you want it and he refuses, that is a problem. I've known quite a few guys personally, including my own ex, who claimed it's just a piece of paper while refusing to marry their long-term girlfriend. In most cases, they eventually break up and he marries the next girl pretty quickly. Guess it wasn't the paper that was the problem. Yeah, this happened to me too. It's pretty cruel, but some guys just stay in relationship until something better comes along. Like I said, it's pretty cruel and cowardly, but if marriage is important to you, don't let him drag it out any longer and put your needs first. It's not just a piece of paper. Getting married gives you legal rights. Yup, you know what else is just a piece of paper? A birth certificate, a deed, a social insurance number, a passport, power of attorney. Great point. If it's just a piece of paper and it's important to you, why isn't he agreeing to it? #exactly if it's not such a big deal. What's the big deal? Yup, I absolutely will not do this thing I see as insignificant, but which is deeply important to you does not come off the way these guys seem to think it does. I love how guys are fine with a kid, but don't want to marry, as if a child isn't a much more binding circumstance than marriage. Lol. If you are okay trying for a baby without marriage, then he really doesn't see the point in getting wed, and you've kind of endorsed that by going along with the plans to have a baby. Hard to say what his reasoning is and if it's any reflection of his feelings for the relationship. Tell him that if something were to happen to you or him, you/him wouldn't be the next of kin in that situation. Technically, his mom would be his next of kin, and he doesn't even care for her. So ask him, would you rather me be your next of kin or your mother? I not only got married to my husband because I love him, I do very much, but I also am on his health insurance. If something happens to us, then we can be in the hospital room with each other and so much more. If you plan to travel around to different countries, some of them do not let unmarried couples to stay together in the same hotel room because their culture doesn't allow it. So if you and boyfriend went somewhere, you would be separate from him, kids or not. Also, why is it so easy for him to get you pregnant but not to marry you? Why would you get pregnant for a man that doesn't want you as his wife? Your body goes through so much when you're pregnant, no man is worth that. If you want to get married and he doesn't, I think that's the most compelling argument right there. But in reverse, for pregnancy puts her in potentially dangerous situations. Just with all the things that can go wrong. If I were op, I'd approach it that way. I need to make sure you're protected if something goes wrong. Especially if you've just become solo parent to a newborn. Either we can hire a lawyer and write out wills, or we can go to the courthouse and get married. It's just a piece of paper either way, but one way is certainly easier. There's no alimony for girlfriends and you deserve to be a wife before you are a mother. You can always sell a house, a car or any other possessions, and you can get divorced, but you can't take back having a kid. Go ahead and toss out your birth certificate, SSN card, your driver's license, your passport. Ask your family to shred their wills and powers. After all, they are just pieces of paper. You mean they aren't just pieces of paper? Then don't have a kid with a man that can't commit to you. Like some of us here, you'll discover the most important papers you'll have left will be the custody and child support. This is one of the quickest ways to mess up your life, your health and your future. Don't dare do this without legal protections. I mean, that marriage certificate isn't even a prenup that covers infidelity, birth and parenting clauses which you could add to have better protections. You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate. Lessons I learned later than I should have. Edit. My husband said ask him to buy a house and put it in your name only. After all, it's just a piece of paper. Advice he'd give his daughter. Honestly, if he's unwilling to propose after 11 years, I definitely would reconsider the decision to have kids or even stay with him. Have you sat down and explained what being married means to you? And why do you worry that he doesn't love you? Personally, I have an aunt and uncle who have been happily boyfriend and girlfriend since the 80s. And I guarantee you that they love each other very much. I think you need to sit down and have a long talk about what you each want from your relationship. And just keep your mind open to what he wants as much as you want. If he sees things from a practical point of view, you could point out that being married is a good way to secure each other and your eventual children legally. It gives you both rights to take medical decisions as next of kin, if one should be unable to do so. And depending on how things work with inheritance in your country, it could be a way to secure your partner and children in regards to living situation in case one you should die. I was in a situationship for 22 years. We went our separate ways 2 years ago, and he now lives with his new girlfriend, building the life with her that I wanted with him for years. It's humiliating, embarrassing, and I just have to get over it. He didn't want that life with me. Simple and painful as that. You've been together 11 years. If he's not interested in getting legally married, for whatever his reasons may be, you aren't going to be able to change that. If marriage is important to you, and he doesn't ever want to get married, it may be time to step away from this relationship. You can't force someone to do something they want, and you shouldn't compromise on something you want. It's more than a piece of paper. It's a legally binding contract under the government that comes with thousands of legal protections. There's a reason gay men and lesbians fought for decades to have the right to marriage. You're leaving yourself very vulnerable if you're having a kid without marriage. It's very easy for a man to just up and walk away from a partner and a kid without having to provide any support. They do it all the time. I don't care about marriage or having kids, but I sure as hell wouldn't have one without the marriage. This comment is very odd. There is nothing about marriage that changes child support or legal requirements around responsibility for a child. What does being married offer that will keep a guy from walking out unless he makes a lot more money than you, or you own a home with significant equity? It's not that marriage will keep a guy around. It's that you're entitled and likely to get far more resources when he does walk out. If you're married to him, child support isn't the only way to get resources for the child. And arguably it's insufficient, and there are plenty of men who are very good at not paying it anyway. Personally, I wouldn't have a child with someone who wouldn't marry me. I've had a few 2 to 3 year relationships that took up my 20s and early 30s and feel I wasted my time staying too long. I also wouldn't want to be in a lackadaisical marriage with a child where I'm basically his mother because he isn't pulling his weight. I feel like anyone of marriage age that doesn't get married after 11 years really doesn't want it, and one person is compromising. Doesn't mean it won't work out necessarily, but also doesn't mean they wanted to. Why would you be actively trying to get pregnant when you are so unsure of your relationship? That is selfish. A kid doesn't deserve to be brought into that. Oh, and isn't a birth certificate also just a piece of paper? I bet he won't sign that either. Start making smarter decisions. Some people might argue that having a child with someone may even be more of a contractual commitment to your partner than getting married. So it's interesting that your partner is going ahead with that. Are you holding on to the idea that he might marry you after the baby comes? Because forget that thought. You will be so busy with your child that it won't even cross his mind. Especially since he's already not attuned to the idea. So don't go into having a baby with him thinking that'll get you what you want, because it won't. You'll still be unmarried, but with a child now. Family law attorney here. If you're married, in my state, there's a presumption that everything acquired during the marriage was equally contributed to and should be shared. This allows parties flexibility to structure their home life how they'd like, and protecting the domestic partner. Does he earn more, but you do more chores at home? Marriage protects you in that scenario. Do you plan on stepping back from work when baby is born, even just for a few years? Marriage protects you in that scenario. But if you're a balanced modern couple who both work and both contribute at home, it might be fine not to be married. So, is there a chance that not wanting the piece of paper has more to do with making sure you never share his money, even if you're doing more domestic work which inherently supports his career? If he's the breadwinner, talk to an attorney in your state before deciding whether you need the piece of paper. This shouldn't be a purely emotional issue. Any man who loves you enough will never stay on the boundary where he can easily lose you. What's wrong with women these days? If you want marriage, leave him. Don't add child into this. It won't help, but complicate when a guy doesn't want to get married. All it means is we can stay together. As long as I don't find someone better, it's easier to get rid of GF, but not a wife. Marriage comes with responsibilities. Screw him if after 11 years, he doesn't want you to be his forever. Exactly this. I don't know if this is harsh, but I've been with my current BF for 5 years. I know what I want, a future with him. But if there's no ring in year 3, I'm out. He doesn't want to marry you. If you break up, he will probably quickly marry the next woman who comes along. I don't mean to be harsh, but this has happened to me in the past, and it is happening again now. 7 years. He wanted a kid. He wanted me to move to Europe with him. He wanted to cohabitate. But he didn't want to provide me the life or security of wife status. I waited so long, I will never have the family I dreamed of my entire life. Don't wait. Don't have a child with him. Cut him off. It's just a piece of paper, great. It means nothing to you. But it's important for me, so let's get one. Doesn't matter to you either way, right? It'll make me happy and nothing changes for you. Win-win. Stop trying for a baby with someone who won't marry you, if that's what you want. I can't understand why he is like that. It's been 11 years. Can you not ask and talk to him about this openly? I just worry he doesn't love me enough. Again, it's been 11 years. I think you should know if he doesn't. And if you don't think he does, you should be able to talk to him and let him know you worry about this and how he can help to reassure you of your relationship. Despite all of this, we are trying for a baby and this eases my mind. If we have a child together, that's real silly, honestly. If you want a marriage, he can't even commit/agree to a future with you. Don't have a kid. Lifetime responsibility. Seriously, you guys need better/more communication. For a relationship of 11 years, this seems to be lacking, which is kinda worrying. I personally don't want to get married ever. But maybe want some children in the future. Maybe your partner is like me and just doesn't see marriage as something important. With that being said, marriage is important to you. So I would really stop the baby trying for now. Talk to him. Tell him why marriage is important to you, what the benefits are, etc. But don't expect him to change his opinion. Really ask yourself, if you can stay with him without getting married at all. One of my friends got engaged after 10 years and they want to get married next year. But the thing is, her partner wanted to get married and she knew that. There are many men out there who want to get married. If you want to get married and can't see yourself not getting married at all, stop wasting your time with him. He probably won't change. Typically speaking, a no outweighs a yes. That's why having a baby should be a hard no, unless or until you're completely confident, to the best of your ability, that you've exhausted the marriage talk. It's cruel and unfair to give a tiny baby the job of fixing a marriage that the adults themselves can't make work. Question: have you guys not yet discussed his position? I guess after 11 years I'm surprised that you're surprised at his position on the matter. I don't have advice, but I'm going through a very similar situation. I know how much it hurts to realize the person you love doesn't share your values. Sending solidarity.